chug some beers and make some bad gambling picks. Welcome to Chuggiebets. We have a bit of breaking news, very serious news that we have to address at the top of the podcast. I know we like to keep it light and keep it silly, but there's something that must be addressed because it's a national tragedy. Brian Ferentz, offensive coordinator of Iowa football, son of Kirk Ferentz, the head coach at Iowa football, has determined by the athletic director, Beth Gouts, that he will no longer be employed in 2024. I'm sorry to break this sad news. It's been very tough on us all today. So here's a moment in memoriam for Brian Ferentz.
I will remember you. Will you remember me? Don't let your life pass you by. Weep not for the memory.
Beautiful. Thank you, Sunshine. That was beautiful. Now I'd like to deliver Brian Ferentz a compliment sandwich, as we do when teams are eliminated from the playoffs or a coach is fired. And so to start off with, Brian, you made boring football interesting. That's a really big accomplishment. You invented the Iowa touchdown, a field goal, and 2 safeties to get to 7 points. That's amazing. Well done, Brian. Thank you very much. But also, you were the most offensive coordinator of all time. How can you be an offensive coordinator when you clearly hate offense? It was a national tragedy. Hey, Brian, you lived the American dream. You had a rich and famous dad, and you rode his coattails for as long as you could. That's what America is based on. And so, Brian, cheers to you, wherever you may end up. Welcome to Chuggiebets.
Cheers.
Cheers, Brian. You just know he's going to go to, like, Penn State and, like, be, like, the best offensive coordinator out there or something, right?
You think his dad was holding him back by chance? Like, it was his dad's fault? Or maybe it was Phil Parker's plan the whole time. Maybe he wants to be a head coach. The defensive coordinator knows how good he is. He just needed Brian Ferentz to be so bad so he looks good by comparison.
Could be. I mean, I my theory is, like, any offensive coordinator is going to look bad under Mario Cristobal. So
I think Brian switches to the other side of the ball and becomes one of the greatest coaches of all time.
Ooh,
I mean, if he knows one thing, it's preventing offenses from scoring points.
He sure does. He would be the best defensive coordinator we've ever seen.
Yeah.
Did you know he lived in Iowa City? He was born in Iowa City. He's literally never left Iowa City. I wonder if he will even go back to football or if he doesn't know anything outside of Iowa City.
So
is Iowa City High School
he's sick?
Hiring assistant coaches?
Oh, good point. Good point.
Do you think he's sick of corn?
The band?
Yes, that too.
He's sick of all of it.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's recap last week. And seriously, Brian Ferentz, as much as we make jokes, he did make Iowa football interesting.
I watched so much Iowa football. It's ridiculous. I have no idea why I watch so much Iowa football. I think I like bad football.
You did go to Miami.
Wait, so is he coaching out the rest of the season?
Yeah, he's there through the bowl game.
Okay, so, like, did you say there through the bowl game?
Yeah.
Have they won 6 already?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're 6-2.
6-2. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! I really hope that he.
I think usually athletic director wouldn't do this publicly, but I think this was like, hey, we don't want to run up the score on teams that we can run up the score on them. If we don't even want to try and do that. It's not sportsmanlike. So we're just gonna, like, end this now.
Or he can go up and run up the score. I would love it if they have a dynamic offense the second half of the year and like he's been held back. Deacon Hill becomes the greatest passer in Big Ten. I would
score
love that.
90.
Dude, I think
the Ivy.
I think he goes the other way. I think he just busts out, like, single wing. He just doesn't even throw a quarterback out there anymore.
He goes opposite. He really
no more forward pass.
It's Rutgers in 1880s football. He just, like, pulls out, like, a dusty tome of a book that's like the playbook. Actually, there's probably like 7 pages in there. It's like, go left, send them right.
He just like takes the intramural rugby team and puts them all out on offense.
I don't know. I really just hope that one day we get to see his playbook and the annexation of Puerto Rico is part of it.
Oh God, I hope so. I don't think he'd be that creative, and that creative is stealing a play from the movie Little Giants.
Do you think he has the team like throw toilet paper at each other in practice?
It makes sense for how the quarterbacks pass.
I mean, they're pretty close to shit as it is, so they probably need a lot of toilet paper during those practices.
All right, that's enough Iowa football.
That ends that. That's perfect. That's a perfect sum.
Well done,
Last
David.
week we were pretty pedestrian as a team. Really, we were 22 and 21. I mean, we're slightly above 500, but probably not enough to offset the VIG. So we'll get back after it this week. We got guaranteed winners in this batch, so that's good. But we still had a winning week. Andy and myself, 7-6, won our Chuggiebets. Danny at 500. And Al was one game under 500. Fine. It's a fine week.
Yeah, but here's the thing is that when those are your bad weeks, you're doing really well. Right? Like you can have a week where you're 11 games under, and we haven't had any of those.
That's true. The worst week we had was a 5 under.
Mm-hmm.
When we've had a lot more green than we have red.
Yep.
That means you should be betting with this so you'd have a lot more green in your pocket.
I'd like to say the only reason the worst week I've had is 5 unders because I haven't been making very many picks. That was an 0-5.
0-5's okay. I mean, those weeks happen. We did in the NFL. We bounced back.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, Al's carrying us in the NFL with his like 40 games over 500.
Yeah, he did pretty well again this week. He did okay. So we got a couple topics to talk about, but I want to start us off. We had such a serious topic to begin with. Let's talk about something fun. In Jacksonville this week was the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. Georgia met Florida. Everyone was excited. Georgia ran up the score on Florida, and then all the Florida fans left sad. But much of Jacksonville, the area is getting a facelift, including the football stadium. That stadium is not professional enough, I guess is the best way to do it. And the Jaguars are the biggest show in town, even though this game sells out. So next couple years, they're going to be refacing Jacksonville Stadium. Where the Jags are going to play, I don't even care. They'll probably be in London, right? They'll probably play at Fulham Stadium, who Shad Khan also owns, for 8 home games next year. That's irregardless.
This probably play in Orlando, I think.
Oh, that'd be fun. At Camping World. Oh, that stadium sucks so bad.
It's big enough, though.
It is big.
Why don't we do, Georgia, Florida in London?
That makes sense to
me.
me.
It takes 2 fan bases that I find annoying out for at least one weekend.
Put them at Tottenham. Be perfect for all 3 of. It's like an annoying cyclone. You get all the winds mixing up, and you get the most annoying place on earth. I agree.
Why don't we just play that game in the Ukraine?
Oh,
we're right on the Gaza Strip.
Throwing bombs to one another. I mean, football.
Going a little less political. I think they should play in a swamp, not the swamp, just a swamp. Like alligators swimming around, 2.5 feet of water, like wading through. And then the next year they can play in like a field of bulldogs. But
how about a dog pound with like aggressive bulldogs everywhere? That's pretty funny to me. Like,
yes.
So Michael Vick's backyard.
Ooh, he's got the zingers today. I think they should play in Gainesville, Georgia. There's a city in Georgia called Gainesville, Georgia. I feel like it meets everyone's needs. They could make a neutral site. I don't know anything about the city of Gainesville, Georgia. I will leave that to Sunshine to provide more color if he's ever been to Gainesville, Georgia. But they may have a facility, maybe a rec center or something. But I feel like it hits everyone's needs, right?
I gotta imagine Gainesville, Georgia is a lot like Gainesville, Florida, except their jorts are a little longer and their sleeves don't cut off as close.
Sunshine, do you have anything to add about Gainesville, Georgia?
It's kind of close. I think that you'll find more UGA fans in Gainesville, Georgia than you find UF fans, but it's close. I'm still pushing this whole European agenda. We're trying to push football over there. Why not get a game in Moscow?
Oh, lovely. I like that idea. They wear red. It's a Georgia home game. I like, or you can do Athens, Greece, but that seems really boring. How about this? I got a perfect spot in between. There's a little stadium in Tallahassee, Florida. You can go there. That's basically a Georgia home game. They will not be rooting for the Gators there. Big enough facility. They have hotel prices that'll charge you $1,000 a night for the Holiday Inn. That seems like an okay fit. I had the craziest idea yet, guys. Ready? How about you have a game in Athens, Georgia, and a game in Gainesville, Florida, and you alternate every other year? It seems pretty simple. I don't know why this has become so complicated. It's become a hot topic in college football that they just won't do a home and home, and I do not understand why. I think it was a home and home till the 80s or something, and Spurrier did something. I don't know the backstory here, but ever since that day, they've been on neutral. But it feels like there's a pretty easy workaround in the meantime.
I think
Coach Spurrier or Heisman Spurrier?
Coach, I think.
I think Jacksonville is the only place in the world where they'll allow that many drunk rednecks in the same place. Most places have limits on these things.
And big metropolises.
Yes.
Yeah. I was like, I'm pretty sure Gainesville, Georgia has drug rednecks abundant.
Yeah, it sounds like somebody who's never been to an Insane Clown Posse concert.
That is accurate. I've never been to an Insane Clown Posse concert.
I just, let's see. There's got to be like one good answer that's better than head to head. I mean, hell, I would say put it in Atlanta, but that puts it in my backyard, and I don't fucking want it here.
How about they do, like, you know how they have basketball games on aircraft carriers? Do it for the troops.
Ooh,
Send a
like
game
that.
out to sea. I mean, I don't know if people fall off boats. I don't know how wide an aircraft carrier is.
Yeah,
but
late hit out of bounds. You're man overboard.
They should take a page out of the ACC's book and just like play it in Alaska.
Oh, such a great spot for a game.
Just go as far away in the United States as you can.
Yeah. No, they're a well-run conference. They wouldn't do anything like that. The ACC definitely would. But it seems like a very easy solution, and the hilarious concepts that are coming. Maybe you build. Oh, how about this? Half of the state of Florida pays for. We build a stadium on the Florida-Georgia line, literally on the line, right? And the Georgia half pays for the first half. The Florida half pays for this other half, right? And then Florida can sell that one section. Georgia can sell the other section. And then whoever wins, say it's 3 years, if you win 2 out of 3 of that series, those fans get to burn down the other section. Just you can light it on fire. I don't know. Like, I can't think of more ridiculous scenarios because it seems very easy to have a home and home.
I think they should do it on the beach at the Floribama.
Oh,
If you're going to go between two states, that seems like a better spot.
yeah. The problem. Could you do it on Florida-Georgia beach line? The Florida-Georgia line?
I
don't know what the beach
think
looks like
I don't
there.
know about the beach there. Is that
I
like
would-
where
I
Tibby
would-
Island is?
I would venture to say they do it on the Floribama, like Floribama Beach, where they have the Gulf Shores, has the music fest.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, there are aircraft carriers that are big enough for a football field.
Seems easy.
Yeah, 325 meters long, 75 meters at its widest point.
Which brings us back to the Gaza Strip.
These guys need entertainment.
They do. Support our troops.
Warriors will probably be there for another year.
So the problem is none of the fans can get to it, but maybe they could like dock the boat. The aircraft carriers are really tall, huh? It's a really dumb idea. I was like, can you just bring boats?
And then this is America, buddy. Every fan gets their own helicopter, and the helicopters just fly above.
Oh my God. There's like 6,000 helicopters flying above.
Nobody will die there.
It'll be safer than the football game.
R.I.P. Kobe.
All right. Oh,
Ooh.
man, we're going for it today. That Brian Ferentz news brought out the worst in everybody. I do want to talk about a serious topic. We can transition really quick. And I'm not one to do this, but I do actually, this will have a serious undertone. I don't know if you guys saw Deion Sanders the other day after Shedeur got blasted. And we need to preface this. UCLA has a good defense, right? They are like a seriously good defense, probably the best defense in the Pac-12. So no one should be surprised when they bring aggressive pressure against Shedeur Sanders. But he essentially said that he's like, all these offensive linemen are not good. I need to go get new offensive linemen, right?
It was like a response to a question from a reporter that said, how can you keep Shedeur upright or something like that? And he basically said, we need new linemen. Get a bunch of new linemen. Something along those lines. it was inappropriate.
Pat Narduzzi the other day. Pat Narduzzi he's been hard on his coaches in the past. I know the Mark Whipple comment. He literally can't get a Christmas card from Mark Whipple, or he definitely doesn't send one to Mark Whipple. That's for sure. But he was I forgot the exact quote that I had from Mark Whipple, but he was saying that the players that they got just aren't good enough, right? Which is weird considering you're the head coach at Pittsburgh. It's your responsibility to get players that are good enough. And look, they've been picked over from recruiting. Jordan Addison was
Narduzzi's quote was like, "We lost a bunch of players, and we thought we brought in guys to replace them, and I guess we didn't, and that's on me." And he tried to take responsibility for it, but really, he's throwing guys under the bus that he doesn't really need to. It's just not leadership.
Bad leadership. My point is this. Well, there's two questions I have for you. One, did this happen before NIL was involved? Because I don't remember it. And two, are coaches I guess I'm assuming coaches are being dicks because they're getting paid now, but like, does that change how you feel about the college football player?
I mean, the first time I kind of remember a coach legitimately throwing his players under the bus was like Thomas Tuchel doing it when they were kept asking, "Why can't you guys score any goals?" And he's like, "Well, it's the same players. It's going to get the same result." And I was like, that was kind of shocking to hear a coach come out and just like throw the players under the bus like that. Because most of the time in American sports, you just don't hear a coach do that. It's like they always are like, "No, we'll handle that internally," and they'll never throw their player under the bus. It's like they're trying to protect something. So it's just really odd to hear. So no, I don't think this happened before. I know, but I don't think it happens in professional sports either. So you don't hear, NFL coaches throwing their players under the bus. They'll say that sure they made a mistake, but then they'll come back with something that say, they'll be able to execute next time.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because you're saying that like, does this happen now more because the players are getting paid, which could be part of it. But I also feel like it's weird that this is happening now with the transfer portal and all that kind of stuff. Like the players have more opportunity to just be like, okay, fuck you, coach, I'm gone. Whereas before they were kind of
nobody wants the guys at Pitt right now.
So like, yeah, that's fair.
And who wants Colorado's offensive line?
I do think with Deion, it's a little bit of a couple of things. One is the reason we love Deion is because he's honest and he just says what's on his mind. And when you're that guy and you're constantly have a microphone in your face, you're gonna say things you regret occasionally. And then also like it's his kid, and so it's a little different. He's a little bit more emotionally involved. I got a little bit less of a problem with that.
It's not even his favorite kid.
It's not.
That is accurate. Do we know where Shadur's on the rankings currently?
Let me get the rankings, but I'll let you finish your point.
4th. No, that was it. I just I like to give him a little bit more of a pass than Narduzzi.
Yeah, I do think that like he just came after a game where he watched his son, who he's seen work so hard to perfect, this very difficult craft of playing quarterback, and he was in a Heisman race, 5 weeks ago, and now he's kind of fallen out of that. Probably cost himself some money, right? Which Deion loves to get paid. That's part of why he played. Who doesn't love getting paid? But famously, he was about the money at both FSU and at, when he went to the Cowboys. I'll never forget the commercial where he was I think it was pepperoni or cheese, and he goes both. And then at the very last line was 15, 20 million, and he goes both because he got a $35 million contract or a $25 million contract or whatever. Yeah, so I just think that's definitely part of it. But yeah, protecting his son, he definitely has a lot more invested in that single player than he does others, and that's part of having your kid on the team. So everybody that goes to play for Colorado's got to know that you're not going to be the favorite player.
Do we have thoughts on the rankings of the kids thing? Because personally, I feel like if you're going to rank your kids publicly like that, it's one thing to like make a joke amongst friends or something, but like publicly to put it out there, I feel like you're either an incredible dad and you have such a good relationship with your kids that the other 3 kids like know how much you love them and like that you're joking and like you're okay, or you're just like a shit dad and you're just like, yeah, fuck that kid. I tend to think Deion's more the first one.
Yeah, Deion's box one.
Super involved in his kids' lives, like really good family life.
Coach them throughout their entire football careers and help them to develop their the talent that he passed down to them. It's not easy to pass that work ethic on. The skill set is one thing, but the work ethic is another, and that raise some kids that can play big time college football at a high level.
I wonder what the ranking consists of, to Andy's point, right? Like, if he is a good dad perspective and he's just having fun and being like, yeah, you're really getting on my damn nerves today, I'm putting you to the bottom of the list, right?
Yeah.
Like, kind of like tongue in cheek. Okay. But I need to know what this list, like the ranking system, right? Are we using something aggregated, right? Like, as far as like academics is like half, or like, I got to know more about it. I'm going to try to do some research here. Between pods, and we'll get to the bottom of this.
I think the way Dion ranks his kids is he puts them at whatever ranking is best for them to be their best. So if you got the kid that needs the kick in the ass, he's going to put them at the bottom because then they're going to work harder to get to the top. If you got the kid that needs the praise, he's going to put them at the top. And like on Andy's point, he seems like a good dad. I think he knows how to coach his players too to get the most out of them. So.
Is this what he did with the offensive line?
Oh,
He moved them to the bottom of the list because he needs to kick them in the ass.
It could be, man. It could be.
We cracked the code.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, should we pick some
Dion
games?
Vinci code.
Yeah, I think it's time to pick some games, buddy.
All right, we're gonna work through. There's so many weekday games now. It's so dope. We'll do the weekday games, and then we'll put the next podcast. We'll have all the weekend games, and we'll fly through less content. So let's start off at Tuesday, 7 p.m. We got Northern Illinois going to Central Michigan. Andy, what are you doing here?
So I'm taking the points. Central Michigan is not 5.5 points worse than Northern Illinois, especially at home. So I'm taking the 5.5.
All right, let's stay in the MAC. Buffalo. Oh, by the way, Maction. This is officially the start of Maction. November chill is in the. Oh, I guess it's Halloween, right? You got the spooks out. The
Still counts.
out there, but November's around the corner. That means we got Maction. No longer do we have to only watch Conference USA on Tuesday. And thank Christ, that shit is terrible. I'm watching it, but it's bad. Buffalo, Toledo. What are we doing, Andy?
It's too many points. 16.5. That is way too big of a number. I'm taking 16.5 with Buffalo.
I hate this play. I hate it so much. Toledo's not bad, but I'm rooting for you, buddy.
No, they're not bad, but that's a lot of points, man. It's almost 20. 16.5 rounds to 20.
I get it. Thank you for helping me with that.
Iowa touchdown, 16.5 points is Matt.
That's true. So if you get 16.5 points,
2.5 Iowa touchdowns, Matt. I'll do the math for you. It's 2.5 Iowa touchdowns. Almost.
Yeah, but you only get 4
That's
safeties, or you get 5 safeties. So you got to get 8 and then 3 field goals. Is 17?
Yeah.
Okay, that's how you got to do it. The 4 safeties in a game seems like a lot, but I believe
for Iowa.
All right.
Punter is.
Let's stay in the MAC. We got Wednesday at 7:30, Kent State at Akron. Andy, what are we doing?
Yeah, I got 2 plays on this one. I'm taking the points with Kent State, and I'm going over 38.5. These are not great football teams, but sometimes that leads to points. Defensive points, scooping scores, all that kind of good stuff. So Kent State plus 4.5 and over 38.5.
Watch the Ball State Bowling Green State game instead of these two teams are some of the worst in the country. There's a Ball State Bowling Green State game at the same time. Do that.
Is there a World Series game on that?
Yeah, watch the World Series on Wednesday.
Yeah. No, I don't think on Wednesday.
I think Wednesday they are playing, but I could be wrong.
I always forget because some sports do the 2-3-2 and some do the 2-2-1-1-1. Baseball's 2-3-2, right? So they'll play
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Then thank goodness. Avoided a bullet. Bet it for sure, but don't watch it. TC or put it in a multi-box. TCU, Texas is that day, but we're not doing anything there. We got the Fighting Gerbils going into Troy, USA versus Troy. Sunshine, what are we doing here?
We're taking Troy -5. Troy's on a win streak, and this is the first pick of Sunshine's Sun Belt picks. So I guess buckle up or belt up.
Oh, belt up! I love the Sunshine Belt. Thursday, we also have Wake Forest at Duke. Weird game here. Duke looked really inept last week without Riley Leonard. Going into Louisville and getting 0 was crazy to me. But we got Wake Forest also looked real. That score didn't indicate how bad Florida State beat down Wake Forest. They won by 25. They could have won by 40 in that game. There's a lot of things there. I don't want to go into that because it's not a Florida State podcast. But Danny, what are we doing here?
Basically, the ACC is weird, and Wake's getting 12.5 points. And you've heard me talk up Duke a lot this year, but I think 12.5 is going to be too many in this game because Wake's like 4-4, and Duke's 5-3, and it's ACC, and it very easily they could both be 5-4 after this game. So, and one of those teams is getting 12.5 points. So I'm going to take those.
Classic ACC. Let's talk about some more interesting ACC. We got Boston College going into Syracuse. Boston College did pull out a game against UConn last week. Syracuse looked terrible against Virginia Tech. Absolutely terrible here. But we're all in consensus here. So, Andy, start us off.
Yes, so this is a little teaser for me. I'm calling this favorites week. Anybody who listens to the pod knows that I take very few favorites. I'm almost always taking the dog with the points. This is going to be favorites week for me, and I'm kicking it off on Friday night with Syracuse. I'm laying the 3. Boston College is not good. Syracuse bounces back here at home.
Syracuse has been dogs in their last 4 games and hasn't covered once. I have no idea why you guys all think that they're going to cover this spread.
It's more about the competition, I think, here. As far as a power ranking number, Syracuse is
Boston College beaten covered on Georgia Tech. They beaten covered Army. They beaten covered Virginia. Syracuse is so bad.
Be that as it may. Syracuse, I still think, is the better play here. Garrett Schrader is still the better quarterback. I like Castellanos.
The 28-point loss to Virginia Tech means nothing to you.
No, it means a lot, right? It made it really hard for me. It made the number palatable enough for I could lay the 3. If they didn't lose by 28.5, it's probably, or the 28 points, it's probably a much bigger spread. And I wouldn't.
17-point loss to Clemson, nothing.
17 points to Clemson is whatever.
Yeah.
Look, I don't think either team is good. I don't want that. Don't confuse this.
Yeah.
But I do think playing at Syracuse, and the line is juicy enough at 2.5 or 3. You got to play it.
Sure.
Danny, there are places out there who will take a bet on the other side of this. If you feel so confident, I don't see anything in your little box here.
I got too many picks already. I just think you guys are wrong, and I'm just saying why it's not a Cyclone. I'm usually inclined to go with the team on this, but I'm not going to Cyclone with you guys. You guys are all wrong here.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I don't know if we mentioned Al is on this as well.
Yeah, sorry. Al is joining the party. Friday night, we got Colorado State going into Laramie. Danny, what are you doing? I'm sorry, against University of Wyoming. Sorry, I should be more clear. Danny, what are you doing here?
I'm taking the 7 points. Basically, I think that Wyoming is overrated and Colorado State is underrated, so I'm going to take the 7.
I like that. I am very tempted to take the over here. Everything in my numbers say it should be at 48 or 49. Laramie is notorious for weather-affected sports. That part of Wyoming gets really bad, and it does look like the wind's going to be in the 17 to 20 mile an hour range for at least a half of the game. So I'm not. But if I had to lean, I would lean on an over here.
Yeah, I would actually go the other direction because I think the wind's going to affect it. Another reason I like Colorado State because unders tend to favor a dog getting more than a touchdown.
Wyoming doesn't score a lot of points in general either, right? They're actually a pretty good team, but they always play in the middle 20s or high 20s. It just looks like an opportunity where both teams will be able to score against one another. But if the wind is 20 miles an hour in Wyoming, that's tough. It's going to be really tough. And it's consistently windy there. They get bad weather. Sorry, that's enough meteorology class with about Wyoming and the Tetons. But I think that's it for the weekdays. So we got another podcast coming up. Andy will host this one. We're going to go through all of Saturday's games. LSU, Alabama, USC, Washington. A lot of heavy hitters coming up. We got
Bedlam.
Oh, Bedlam. The final Bedlam. Damn.
Yeah.
Well, Mike Gundy. What is he going to do? But we will follow that up on our next podcast. Make sure you listen, like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Tell your friends, tell your enemies. Handle all that. And until next time, good night.
night, Joey.
Good night, Matt.
Good night, Danny.